Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I am joined today by a soul sister where we found each other a few years ago. So I'm really excited to have Chasity Munoz on my channel today, and she's going to share her journey, her struggles, and a lot of really personal and intimate information about her life, with the hope of inspiring and helping others. So this is going to be one of those tearjerker type of episodes. So get your tissues, get ready, because this is going to be an inspirational chat with Chasity. So welcome to the channel, Chasity.
Thank you, Sherri, for having me. It's an honor.
Oh my gosh, the honor is mine. So instead of me reading your bio, you know what? I'm just going to have you tell everybody about yourself a little bit and how we even know each other, and then we'll get into your journey a little bit.
Okay, so I'm 41, and I really felt like I lived in a world that I did not fit in. I had a hard time just kind of thriving in this corrupt system, and it was just challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge until 2019, where I had went through chemo. It was kind of a catalyst to an awakening that I had. And then Sherri, I actually, shortly thereafter, I just kind of went within and started meditating and started to have a better understanding and the big understanding of like the bigger meanings of the bigger meaning of my life, everything in my life. I had come across Spiritually Raw, just alternative things to listen to. That's where I found you. And when I found you, I went to your YouTube channel and like binged. I'll never forget. I binged every single one while I was putting up my Christmas decorations in my house, just because what you were saying spoke to me so dearly, and it made so much sense. And it kind of put me on the direction. It helped kind of shift me on the direction of healing and understanding who I am and why I'm here and what I'm here to do. And I'm just so kind of on this self-discovery, since then. So.
That's so funny. So Spiritually Raw was one of the first public channels that I ever went on. It was like really like a step for me that I wasn't ready for, but I kind of was pushed to do it. And I'm glad I did, because it was the best thing I ever did, because it opened so many doors for me and other channels, and I met amazing people. And it's funny because you, along with a couple of other people, have been supporting me. I don't like to use the word follow, but supporting me from like the beginning of all of my coming out to the world and not being so like hidden, in just my little town, and doing soul groups and things like that, and things in just my area, my comfort zone. So that's beautiful that we're talking today, all these years later.
You had put out the first time you had put anything out about anybody wanting to help, you were looking for teachers. It was in the very, very beginning, and I reached out to you. I emailed you. At that time, I didn't even really know myself quite yet, but I just knew. I was like, okay, this is my gal. Like, I just loved your content. I loved everything you were about. And yeah, you really helped me in so many ways, Sherri.
Well, let's talk about the first session we had together and how that was a catalyst for kind of what happened, after that, for the last couple of years. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay, so I'm trying to reflect because I've had a couple of sessions with you.
From the first time, the first one.
Right. So, one of the things that you had mentioned, you had said to me was I was a light to shine on the darkness. You had said to me, there was just a few things. One thing that really resonated with me, you said you had never seen before. I used to imagine, so I was a gymnast for 10 years, and I used to imagine myself doing these weird things like just weird stuff, like just always performing in front of people. I always wanted to perform. And you actually told me, yeah, you're like, I've never seen this before, but you were in a circus in your past life.
I remember that. I think you were the first person I ever did a reading on that was actually into circus. I was like, whoa, this is cool.
I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, because I've always wanted to like just dance and perform and stuff. So that made a heap of sense. I'm trying to really think about that first session, Sherri. It was really I can't really think exactly like what it was that you told me. It took like a year for things to kind of unfold and unpack. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm just like a brain fart. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's hard. I can't even remember last week, let alone a couple of years ago. So I totally get
Yeah.
it. Well, let's just go into, because there's three main things we want to talk about today,
Mhm.
that I feel people are going to really take away, from your journey. You know, the lessons you've learned, the hardships that you went through, regardless of if people watching this have had the exact same addictions or experiences. It doesn't necessarily matter, that they line up. What matters is the journey, because there are a lot of parallels with addiction and legal battles and illness and things like that, that you don't have to have the exact same thing, but it's watching somebody go through or hearing about the journey, the struggles, the hardships, the challenges, the fails, but then the wins and the successes that come out of it, and the relationships and the bonding and all of that. And that's the part that people need to hear right now to help motivate them, that perhaps they're going through something similar. So we want to talk today, Chastity, about your struggle with addiction with opioids, and that journey. I want to get into the legal battles that you've experienced, and things, you know, divorce and all of that with children, and that gets really messy. And then also your battle with implants, breast implants, and oh, that's a whole topic in and of itself that I've seen in many sessions. So that's a lot to unpack today. So maybe we won't get through all of it, but let's start with the with the addiction, and share your journey with how you even got started
Right.
with
Right.
opioids, and kind of let's dive in there first, because I think
Okay.
that is a big one right now that many people are struggling through.
Okay. Yeah. So, where the addiction began, I would probably say about 17, 16 or 17, there were some things that changed in my life that, were not very comfortable. I wasn't feeling I wasn't very protected at home. And I came across like Xanax and pills, and it helped numb that pain. It just helped me numb everything. And so, I just started kind of going crazy. I went to raves. I was a runaway. I was, just kind of using stuff off the street, Xanax. It wasn't until I got pregnant with my son and had my son and had a C-section that I was prescribed Vicodin.
Mm.
And the way that Vicodin made me feel, like it numbed me, it gave me energy. Like I just had a C-section. I couldn't really do much, but when I took that pill, boy, I could do everything. I was doing it
Mhm.
all. Plus, it numbs empathy too, which is bizarre because I've always had empathy for everyone else. I just never had empathy for myself.
Mhm. Common.
You know?
Yeah.
Um, so really that addiction literally started right after I had my son. And then I kept getting into these, like my car caught on fire, you know what I mean? I flipped a truck, like all of these incidences that were excusable in my eyes, right? To continue to use, I would doctor hop. Me and my mom would go, I know, me and my mom would go to these doctors. I mean, they would literally give you 120 Vicodin, 120 Xanax, and 120 Somas and 60 Xanax. Like there are so many people that are hooked on opiates. It's unbelievable. And so, I have been, so then, I was taking 15, 20 Vicodin a day,
Wow.
just to not feel like horrible. Well, I started taking Suboxone because one Suboxone, which is an opiate dependent medication, you dissolve it under your mouth, and one Suboxone versus 15 or 20 Vicodin seemed a lot more feasible.
Mhm.
Well, it wasn't. It's far more addicting, and I'm actually in the
Really?
process of trying to come off of it right now. Like it's been almost, I think, like 3 months now. I've kind of lost track, but I'm still having the withdrawals. I'm still using like things here and there to help me get through that. And it's got me kind of upset a little bit because it's just been the one thing that has had me. I've done all kinds of things, but this opiate dependence really got me good, and I'm fighting that battle every day.
I mean, it's so unfortunate, because I believe that it's one of those 3D interference that was inserted into the collective to hook people in, to anchor them into the lowest vibration of being. I mean, there's nothing more low is lower than being numb, because then really what happens when you're numb is that you are tuning yourself out. So your soul dissociates from the experience, because your soul doesn't want to endure the pain, the suffering, and all of that. So the soul will actually detach from the body, not completely, because you have to stay alive, but enough that then other entities and influences and energies will bombard you, and they want to hold you almost hostage in that frequency. So they will encourage you to take more, so that one Vicodin turns into 2 to 4 to 6 to 8. Next thing you know, you're taking 12 to 15 a day just to maintain. It's not even like you're able to get any high from it at once you build up that tolerance. So it's just to maintain your living at that point. And it's really unfortunate because it happens all over the world, and it usually starts with some sort of accident, and it's a simple prescription that turns into what you just described, and many other people have experienced it. And I think that it's just one of the biggest I'll call them 3D viruses that is inserted into our collective in order to suppress and hold people hostage in essence. And that's kind of what happened for you.
Yeah, then that makes so much sense. It's interesting now, being in the place that I am now, because I can feel the energetic pull of like it, like what I had to take kratom a little bit to kind of help me, but I realized I had to back off that. But I can feel like the energetic pull of it wanting me to feed it. You know what I mean? It's wanting me to feed it. So I'm literally fighting back and forth, like
Yeah.
like I'm literally having to just walk and talk myself through it, and tell myself that this will pass. The reason that I decided to kind of come forward is when I started posting about Suboxone, the amount of people that were reaching out to me, asking me like, that they were on it, that they were scared, that my intention was not to scare anybody. My intention was to empower people and encourage people to hop off of it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to get into next. I'm glad you brought that up. This whole Suboxone aspect of your story is very interesting, and I follow you as well on your journey and your Instagram and everything you're sharing, and you're so brave to start putting out these videos and let people know. Like, I think I remember when you were just in the beginning saying I'm 1 week off, or now 2 weeks off, and you're sharing your story of, this is how I feel today, these are the setbacks, these are the good things. And a lot of people have found solace in that. I've noticed from the comments, because I read the comments too, because I'm invested in your journey too, and I'm so proud to see all the positive comments that people are and they're also sharing their own experiences, because I think that this is new. This Suboxone hasn't been around for generations of time. So everybody's you're all going through this together in this present moment, trying to wean yourself off of the anchor that has tied you to the 3D. So it helps to share. So give people tell us a little bit more, that maybe those that don't know what Suboxone is. I know you said that it's kind of like it's less potent than the Vicodin. Like, how does it work?
So actually it's more potent. It's just, it has this long afterlife. And so what happens is it blocks these receptors in your brain so that people cannot go and use. I mean, people who are on heroin, an opiate is heroin, Vicodin, pain, it's all pain pills and heroin. And so, I'm not saying it hasn't helped some people, it has, but it blocks the receptors so that people who want to go use, it doesn't matter. You can't go use. You're not going to get high. It's going to block that. But that's not where I was anymore. I was literally taking the little piece that I was there at the end just to not withdraw, just to not have the hot and cold sweats, the body aches, the restless legs. And so it's just an opiate dependent. So it kind of blocks if you're wanting to get high. But again, I'm not wanting to get high. I just don't want to feel like shit.
Yeah. So I feel like there's just there's no recipe necessarily. Like I said, everyone's trying to figure it out for themselves, and probably the dosing and all of that could be quite ambiguous, and the timing. So you said you've been off of Suboxone for 3 months.
We're moving into
You're
3 months now.
still kind of experiencing mild withdrawal symptoms.
Yep. I would like to, and see, I have the luxury of being able to kind of do it from home. That's why a lot of people don't, because they can't afford to feel like shit and then have to go about their day. People have to work, people have families, I had one guy reach out to me and he was like, man, I would love to do this. I can't, I have to go to work. So many people are wanting to do this, but you literally have to be ready to feel kind of shitty, for a little bit, in order to jump off of it.
And so I'm wondering how this is tied into, so you had breast implants. Let's talk about that because
Okay.
there has to be an overlap there with you wanting to have them removed and the pain that was probably associated with all of that. Did the opioids come in and play a role in the recovery of that, or did that not overlap?
No, that didn't overlap.
Okay, okay.
It's so interesting the way everything just kind of started unfolding. Like I'm pretty there was a walk-in that kind of came in and helped kind of guide me through all of this. But I just was feeling compelled to start cleaning up my temple. I wanted to get rid of them. They were never, I forced them like 3 times. I was damned. I was going to have some big ones. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, it didn't overlap. It started with, I tried to quit all the pills cold turkey and I was bedridden for like 2 months. And so I had to go back to Suboxone. And then about 2 years later is when I had my breast implants removed. And no, I didn't take any pain pills once I had them removed. And get this, I had them both removed and this left breast started filling up with fluid. So girl, I was walking around with like a unicyclops boob.
Oh my gosh.
I was,
Imagine.
and it really did a number on me. I find it very interesting because I started going within before that started happening. So for a year, I was walking around with literally and it was just all fluid. And I would go back to this doctor and he would just drain it. He didn't know what to do with it. I even went and paid him an additional $850 to put a drain in there, and that didn't work either. So 1 year goes by and then I go to nobody wanted to touch it. Nobody wanted to mess with it. And then I finally found a lady who was able to help me. He had left debris, all in my chest cavity. And I had to have it like all dug out. And that's why it kept filling up. But as far as it overlaying, no, I didn't take any pain pills when I went through that surgery. In Germany, they don't even give you pain pills. Pain pills is not a thing. It's only here in the States. It's a big thing.
Yeah. Well, and the breast implants again, is another 3D interference that was inserted in our collective. I don't know when it really got big, probably maybe in the 90s or early 2000s. I can't remember when it really blew up. No pun intended, but and I think that that was that was the vein agenda. That was an agenda to hook people into this idea of artificial beauty, because the beauty that people feel like they are drawn to doesn't actually exist, at least not in the 3D, not in these bodies, because we have flaws, and for a reason, these
That's
human
right.
bodies. So we can get overweight. We have smaller breasts or larger breasts or big nose, small nose, cheekbones, no cheekbones. Like everybody tall. Everybody there's reasons that we choose to have certain body types, despite what people believe. That why would I choose that? You did for whatever reason you chose exactly what you have. But we're so programmed to think that we need to look like these celebrities, or you can see the trends. I mean, it's actually laughable right now if you look back when bushy eyebrows were in, and then it was pencil thin eyebrows. So then everybody went and got tattoos and had their eyebrows like paper thin. And then now the bushy eyebrows are back in. So people are rushing, trying to get implants and all these and to make them bigger. And I'm laughing because it's like, I've never been that type of person. So I've never done any of that. I am what I am.
Yeah.
But I'm like, these people are just following the trends, but that's on purpose. And that's the point. You're constantly going to be chasing the trend because they will always change it up on us on purpose so that we can never become complacent. We can never become what everybody else wants to be because they will change it every single time. Big booties are in right now, but I guarantee you in 5-10 years, it'll be small booties again. I mean, it's this constant. So the trend of plastic surgery is quite high, and that's a big thing right now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm feeling compelled because I want to share this because I feel like this experience is going to help others. My son's girlfriend was telling me, that she wanted to have breast implants. I go, let me just show you. Let me show you. I promise you're not going to want to do that anymore. But I was in like the club scene for a while, doing Hawaiian tropics and doing these like pageants, I guess, if you will, like Formula One racing, like just in all these all these events, like getting paid just to have a bikini body and look cute, whatever. And I mean, I wasn't even 18 or 19 years old. And I remember going and we would do one round of like bathing suits and one round of like club attire. And I remember just looking at these women and comparing myself to all these women with these big fake boobs that were filling in their, you know, bathing suit. And I was barely even developed. And it's just interesting because how much I allowed, how would I ever win? How would I ever, you know, rank up there with all the rest of them? And that's why I was pushed. I allowed all of that to kind of manipulate my way of thinking, you know?
I mean, it's hard not to. It gets to the best of us. I mean, just because I didn't go out and change my eyebrows, like I was still influenced as a young girl to wear the clothes that were popular or to choose the hairstyles that, you know, the Jennifer Aniston do. Like I tried to create, you know, we all done it. We've all been there where we are, where we want to be like everyone else. But then at some point we're like, I don't really want to be like everyone else. I just want to be me. But it's really hard to do that when you're preteen and you're that young adult because you're more susceptible to that like peer pressure of belonging to something. It's not until you grow out of that that you realize, no, that's not in my highest interest to try to continuously compete and be just like everyone else. There are those that are the anomalies that never cared about that. And I wish I was like that growing up, but I wasn't, and I was just like everybody else. But you know what? It was part of my journey. It was part of your journey. But I have a lot of clients that are women, a lot of them in their 30s and 40s that had implants that had gotten infected or they popped or had some sort of malfunction or they moved and it caused so many issues with them. And I did a lot of healing sessions with them to work out the toxins of that and the psychological effect and the trauma from the whole experience. Like you just mentioned, what was that like for you? The experience psychologically and emotionally, just going through all of that.
I'm still processing it, I believe, you know, because the mere, like, I completely forgot my mind has learned how to compartmentalize like all this, like all these traumatic events, you know, so a lot of stuff has been coming up and I'm like, oh, wow, I forgot about that, you know? Um, you know, luckily I kind of started going within before I decided to have them removed. It was interesting at first. I remember going to Victoria's Secret and trying to find a bra and trying to put on like, something spirit kept saying, it's just not time yet. You can't, because like a couple of days after surgery or a couple of weeks after surgery, I went and got a bra. I went to go see, and I didn't like it. And it wasn't that I didn't like it. It was that I wasn't used to it. That's just it. Just like my hair, you know, I just cut it short. It wasn't that I didn't like it. I wasn't used to it, because then a year went by after this whole struggle of this one filling up and all that. And it took a year, and then I got a sports bra and I loved the way that I looked. It was a process. I would say it took about a year to accept my new way, you know, the way that I look, the way that I feel. I can tell you what, I may not have big breasts, but I feel better than I have in a very long time. And I feel like, you know, like we talked about earlier, sharing my experience will help others not want to do that. Just stay true to them. So.
Exactly. I mean, you made a good point. You know, just being comfortable in who you are. It's a journey and it takes time. And I believe that's why people choose to numb themselves, because maybe they don't like the way they look, or they're ashamed of the way they look, or they've been told their whole life that you're not pretty enough by certain relationships, or even their parents or society. And it's crazy to me how mean people can be. I mean, my daughter is at that very vulnerable age. She's 9, going on 17, and she hangs out with a lot of girls, and they're so mean to each other. And the things that I overhear them talk about, and I just can't believe it. I just can't believe how they put each other down and how catty they can be. And it just takes me back to my childhood and my youth, and I remember how awful girls could be, and it just, you know, it's very vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable period. But I think that's why people turn to alcohol, to pharmaceuticals, to various things to numb themselves, because they just don't want to be present. They don't want to accept. But when you can do that, it's such a beautiful thing, because then you can persevere and you can just embrace so many more things and just joy in general. And your journey of just like not giving up is very motivating, I think, to people watching. You know, what are some of the biggest struggles you've had over the last couple of decades? You said you're 41, so 17, you started this journey and everything that's happened since then. You know, what have been the hardest moments for you that you can recall?
I would say there's been a lot.
Yeah.
But I would say when things started changing, at my house, and I wasn't really feeling protected, and I really, like, my dad wasn't around, I really didn't have anybody. It was just like me, my brother, and my mother. But then that whole, I mean, it just kind of, so, and then I was sent to a psychiatrist, and the first thing that psychiatrist told me was, so you're pretty up in the head, right? I mean, I was 16, put me on
Wow.
Zoloft. I tried to commit suicide, which Zoloft is linked to suicide. So I would say that was really challenging for me because I was constantly running away. I didn't feel like there was a home that I could go to, that was safe for me. And then I would say just the addiction, the addiction to these pills and just wanting to numb all the pain and not have to feel it. I mean, at the time it was far better for me to just numb it and not have to deal with it and not have to work through it. But let me tell you, that just gave me a lot more to work through as I got older. So,
Yeah.
so just addiction. I mean, all of it really, Sherri. I mean, when I say I have had literally challenge after challenge after challenge the past 20 years, that's literally from plastic surgeries to chemotherapy to freaking car wrecks to car fires to, I mean, the list goes on.
Well, let's talk about the legal struggles that you've been through, because that's another big pillar in your journey, and it's important and it ties in. So tell us a little bit what you feel comfortable sharing.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, I've been in and out of jail, just not making the greatest, decisions. My first time I went to jail was like, for marijuana, but it was always linked to pills. It was always, linked to addiction because I was driving around and I shouldn't have. But the legal battle, I was fighting for my daughter. I was going through chemotherapy, driving to Dallas once a week because I was fighting in the courts, for my daughter. And because of everything that I've had on my record, that didn't really reflect really great on me, which
Yeah.
the record, like I said, was just like DWI, just, possession of marijuana.
Mhm.
And that can really go against you. That can really hold you back, especially if you're trying to go in the real world and trying to work. They don't want to hire somebody who's had a DWI. Well, I think it's getting like more people are having DWIs now.
Probably,
But
yeah.
the legal battle, I'm going to talk more about my daughter's situation. All the legal stuff has kind of held me back a little bit. I'm not going to let it anymore, but I was fighting for my daughter, and it just, now that I know what I know, I don't, that the system's so corrupt. It's just
Mhm.
so corrupt. It's not placed there to help you win. That's my own personal belief. And 2019 was the last time that I saw my daughter. And I mean, I was going to Dallas once a week, sometimes 3 times a week. I was going through chemotherapy. I couldn't do it anymore. I was just so burnout, and I refuse to contribute to these systems anymore that need to crumble. So I just feel like everything with my daughter will play itself out when it's supposed to, and I'm not going to contribute to those systems. I don't know if that's really answering your question at all, but all I have to say is this legal system it literally is in place to just hold back so many. I have
Yeah.
friends that can't move on with their life because something they did 20 years ago.
Yeah, I have a lot of clients struggling within the legal system having to do with divorce or other things, and it's very corrupt.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of buy-offs, which we won't talk too much about that because we don't want to get my channel taken down. But there is a massive amount of corruption within that paradigm of the legal system. But I believe that it's one of the facets that are breaking down. But it's still, nonetheless, it's still playing a role right now in many people's lives. And that's part of your journey of struggling with that. And I can't even imagine being a mother, not being able to, have custody of my daughter while going through all the other things that you went through. I mean, you're really, I just want you to recognize how strong you are. I mean, you really are bringing the light in the darkest places. And it takes a very powerful warrior spirit to be able to persevere. And that's the key word. You may have had epic fails at times. You may have ended up in jail. You may have lost your daughter in the short now moment, but in the long term, you're killing it. You're doing so many things and you're transmuting so much, but you can only do so much at one time. And that's
Yeah.
the downfall and the side effect of 3D is, you know, our capacity to heal and shift things is limited for a lot of reasons. 3D influence, 3D interference, setbacks, blockages, entities. I mean, we're just bombarded constantly. So we have to celebrate the successes and remind ourselves it's just one step at a time. And you've got this, and have patience and self-love and endurance. Let's talk about something beautiful though. You have a son who is amazing, and I see videos and things in clips, and he's just beautiful soul. Let's talk about him real quick.
He's my soulmate.
Yeah,
That is my soulmate. And, you know, he and I have just been through, whenever he came, thank you, Sherri. I appreciate all those kind words. And I just want to thank you because, because I came across you and your work is, really pushed me to heal and find myself again. So thank you.
you're welcome.
But my son, is 20 years old. He is my soulmate. He helped me realize how much of a box that I put myself in. You know, the way that he thinks and the way that he, like, for instance, he had a couple of coaches that would bully him because he had earrings. And he's like, you know, he goes, what if I bought the school and then went in there and fired those coaches?
I love
Like,
that.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
He just thinks and dreams like just so big. And talking to him, you know, it makes me realize how much of a box I put myself in and how self-limiting I've always been. Because certain things that he would say, I would remember, like, I never thought that way. I never thought that I could. I never thought that I was capable. I never thought that I had the capacity. So he's taught me a whole lot. And, you know, we've been through a whole lot. He came into my life when I was 20 years old, when I thought all love was gone. Like, I was just done. I was done. I didn't want to be on this planet anymore. Like, I freaking hated it here.
Yeah.
And he came in and showed me love again and showed me how to love. You know, it's unfortunate that I couldn't, but it's not though, because that's what we signed up to do. We signed up to go through this together, and it's actually very, very beautiful. Because now we're able to speak about some of these traumatic experiences.
Mhm.
Most significantly, you know, whenever we were in a accident, and he just was able to speak his truth. But he's doing great. Like, he is realizing that he doesn't want to work in the 9 to 5. He's actually going to start building his own little business. He wants to you know, he's just so aware and alert. And I just admire him. I love him so much. I kind of got thrown off because of my smittenness for my own son.
I love that though. Like we and I have a similarity too, because when my son came into my life, I was 23 and I was just so in my shadow side and just such a bitter, angry person, and just, you know, I just not in a good place. And he came in and he just opened my heart up, and just it was just like a wave of love, that pure love that came through. And I think that had he not, who knows where I would have ended up. And I think it was a lifeline. It was almost like my soul called out and said, I need a lifeline, I need some help. And at that time, of course, I had my husband now and his father, but it's a different kind. A child brings in a different kind of love. It's unexplainable. There's no words really to describe that, because it's a piece of you. And so your son saved you, like my son saved me. And my son is 19, so they're similar in age. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because that category they're not only do they come in the crystal energy, they just beautiful love, and they're so easy going. They're friends with everybody. They're such out of box thinkers. They're rebels, but like they're gonna do it respectfully. They're not gonna they're not gonna cause trouble for the most part. Sometimes they will, but it sounds like your son, what's his name?
Arthur.
Arthur. It sounds like your son, Arthur, and like my son, Jordan, they're very, they're like new energy coming in, and they don't want to, none of that category, none of them really align with college or the 9 to 5 or working for others. Like they're like, no, what can I do? How can I work for myself? How can I create something different? And that's the point. They're supposed to come in, but they do struggle a little bit because a lot of them are not getting the support from their parents. because their parents are still in that, no, you have to go to college, you have to get that 9 to 5 corporate job. That's what everyone does. So they're not getting this. A lot of them unfortunately aren't getting the support that they need, but they're out of the box thinkers. They laugh at some of the rigidity of the 3D. So Chastity sends me funny Instagram reels that her son sends her about just the things that we think are ridiculous, but it's 3D stuff, like the indoctrination of education and the schools and all of this stuff. So her son and my son, I think, are very similar in that regard, but he saved you. And that's such a beautiful part of your story.
Yeah, he did save me. And again, if I hadn't come across your information, Sherri, it would be so easy for me to reflect on what he and I actually signed up to do here, and beat myself up about it, because I put the kid through the ringer, but very much like me, he's a survivor. That's why I always tell you, like, my family, we're survivors. We're survivors of I guess what the 3D interference, if that's, just survivors of just this earth in general.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's talk about some positive stuff before we wrap up for today. So tell me some of the things that you're doing now. You've got a lot of beautiful things. You just moved. Chastity just joined the Aramis creative learning team. So she's going to be a mentor very soon, doing some dance classes. Talk about all the good stuff that's happening in your life.
Oh man, there's a lot of good stuff going on. I think I'm going to be starting a podcast on addiction with the friend that I've met in the community. I think she will give great balance to all of that. I think a lot of people need that. There are a lot of people that are willing to kind of come and talk, and I think that's great. We need to bring all that to the light. That's all beautiful. I'm really looking forward to, now that I'm kind of getting settled here, choreographing and kind of hee-hawing on what it exactly is that I want to do for the dance classes. I'm actually in a very interesting, so I care for my mom. So, I'm kind of in this like interesting, like in between where, I don't know, how much longer I'm going to be able to do that. So it's like, I'm kind of seeking my next step. You know what I mean? I don't know what the next, I know I'm going to be good no matter what, but like the next step for me is, I feel like it's just going to kind of fall into place. I'm going to get out and try to look and wait tables for a little bit somewhere, just to kind of get me move with my life. It's time for me to kind of do things for my life, so it's beautiful things. I'm just not quite sure what they are.
I love that though. There's beauty in the uncertainty sometimes when you're motivated and you're in the right energy. Uncertainty can be like exciting and it can be thrilling. When you're in a negative mindset, the uncertainty can give you so much anxiety and cause so much fear. And I think that's why a lot of people don't try new things or are unwilling to leave abusive relationships or stop addiction or anything negative, because they get that in that wheel of repetition, and fear holds them there. But right now, the uncertainty that you're experiencing is excitement. Like, I don't know, I can't wait. And you're in that mindset that the universe will provide for you, because when you're in the right mindset and you truly believe, and that's your intention, the universe does provide for you. And that's such a beautiful place to be in. So sometimes it's fun to be in that moment of in between, to see like, I wonder what could happen next, and leaving that question out there, which is a beautiful thing. We don't always have to know the exact answer, or we don't always have to close our eyes and say, this is what I want my life to look like, because sometimes it could be so much better than you designed if you just surrender to the possibilities of whatever is in my highest good, it will happen. So whether it's
working better for me, I'm not really one to plan, like, what's your 5-year plan? I don't know. The universe can take care of me. We're good. I just have faith. And I notice that when I do have faith, it does. It takes.
And I love the podcast idea. So you're going to do a podcast with, do you want to talk more about that, or is it still in like the planning phase, so you don't want to share too much?
No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I asked Piper.
You guys will be great together. Oh, I love this already.
Yeah,
I love it.
I agree.
We decided together too. Okay.
Yeah. So just addiction, life challenges in general, addiction, life challenges. That way it doesn't have to just be about addiction, even though there's so much of that out there. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I think she's going to be a great balance. She's a wealth of knowledge. I think we'll balance each other out really, really well. So, I'm really
Well,
looking.
if you ever want me to come on, I'd be happy to be a guest, and I'll share stuff I haven't shared before. I got some stuff back there I haven't
I
shared
love
yet.
that. There's
Yeah.
actually a few people that were willing before so I asked Lily. Lily was willing to be my very first
Oh.
guest because whenever I hopped off of the Suboxone, I had reached out to her. We kind of made friends at the conference. You know, we would go back and forth a little bit, but this whole experience, my own experience, kind of brought us a little bit closer together because she actually had fought the same fat battle years ago.
Mhm.
I think getting off of Suboxone and then so she kind of helped walk me through that process, so
Wow.
it was actually very beautiful. So I'm really looking
That's, that's so beautiful. I'm getting goosebumps right now because I
yeah,
feel like people are finding their tribe. They're finding the right people
yeah,
are coming into our lives that are in alignment with our healing. Some of them are to help us. Some of them have been there. Some people are where we want to be and where we want to go. And that's why I don't believe in competition. Like sometimes we need somebody ahead of us to help motivate us and pull us forward. Sometimes we need somebody that is maybe a few steps behind us so that we can be the teacher and we can guide them where we've been. It's such a beautiful synchronistic
yeah.
unification of souls right now. And I just love that you just shared that. And speaking of conferences, you and I will both be at the Journey to Truth in May. And
Yes,
you and I will get to meet in person because we've talked on the phone and you've talked to my daughter and we're
yeah.
not in person yet though. So that I'm looking forward to the Grafton conference Journey to Truth in May 13th to 15th. Don't quote me on the dates. I can't remember exactly. But there's still tickets available. So I'll be presenting along with a beautiful group of presenters, and then so many beautiful other people are going to be there, and it's going to be
I'm
such a
so excited. I've been wanting to do this conference for a couple years now, but it just wasn't the time. But I mean, I get emotional just thinking about it.
I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun, and it's less
Yes.
than 2 months away. I think we're at like the 6 week mark coming up soon, so it's
Every
going
day
to
I
be
wake up and I'm like, is it May yet?
I know. I'm like, well, hold on, slow down time, because I also am trying to get my fourth book finished before the conference, or at least so it'll be in the editing phase while I'm gone.
Oh,
So I'm really excited about the new book that I'm writing because it's a continuation of the last one, and it's really juicy and there's lots of so much great information in there. So I'm like, I need this to get out. So not too fast. Like time needs to just stay a little bit slower.
you
So I
need to do
can
the
finish.
same.
Yeah, right. Well, this has been such a great conversation, Chastity. Is there anything else that you want to bring to light, or you want anyone to know? Or
No, I just want to tell people that to just, just love yourself and forgive yourself. I promise you the things that I've been through, the things that I've been through and I've been able to forgive myself for, I promise you, you can do the same. Let go of resentment, let go, if somebody does you wrong, love them from a distance, let go of resentment, let go of all of it, because you're not going to be able to heal unless you do that, unless you forgive yourself and you forgive the others around you and just keep moving forward. So that's all I have to say about
I
that.
love that. So, no, that is the perfect way to end this because I say that frequently, and it cannot be said enough by too many people. Like it's just we should all live by that, because the resentment, the guilt, the anger that we have towards other people that wronged us last year or 25 years ago, we got to let it go, because it's holding us and it's anchoring us to that exact trauma. People don't realize that when you are stay in anger towards somebody, you're actually you're captive in that trauma from
Yeah.
all those years ago, and you can't move on from it. You can't fully heal from it. So you just
Somebody said,
forgive.
and I'm going to just say this really quick. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
Yeah,
apologize.
it's okay.
Somebody had said, so, what happens when that person leaves? What does that leave you with? I'm like, oh, yeah. So if you're angry at somebody and you're holding on to that resentment and that person is no longer on this earth plane, what does that leave you with? Just anger and resentment. Let it go.
Exactly.
Let it
Well,
go.
most of those people have already moved on. They're living
Yeah.
their best life, and you're still pissed off at them. And it's like, hello, they're remarried. They have 5 kids now. Or they're miserable. And so what? Now you're both miserable. Like cut the cord, cut the tie, move on from that energy. So that's probably life changing. If everybody could just do that one thing, it would open up so many other doors for them. And because I've done it, I've been that person. Because if people used to call me well, elephants are my favorite animal, but they used to say, Sherri, you're like an elephant. You never forget. Because I don't, because I've been hurt so much in my life. I will remember you till the day I die and what you did to me. But and I was mad at you. But the thing of how I've grown is now I can remember, but I've moved on and I cut the tie. I'll always remember it. It'll always be in the records, but and I may never trust you again, but I've moved on from it. I'm like, I'm not going to stay in that moment. So there are different ways to do it. You don't have to like just fully become best friends and turn around and hug the person. You may never see them again, but you got to let go of the energy. So that's a beautiful thing to say.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Sherri. I appreciate that.
Well, I think this has been really fun. I hope that those of you watching this have enjoyed hearing about Chastity's journey and it helped you in some way. And I'm sure you're going to come back on with me at some point and we'll see each other at the conference. And stay tuned because we'll start putting Chastity on the Aramis schedule to teach some dance classes sometime probably late spring, something like that. So that'll be a really fun addition to your life, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So many great things are coming. So thank you so much, Chasity, for coming on my channel today.
Thanks, Sherri. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. I hope this video has found you well. Until next time, I'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.